Our story begins with a man tending to a young girl at a hospital. It is important to show us that he clips her nails. The next scene has our protagonist waking up. She is Dana, starting her day with yoga, followed by running outside. She seems like someone who watches her health. However, bad luck strikes when a car hits her to knock her to the ground. As Dana lies unconscious, the driver rides off, not wanting to take responsibility for this action. Eventually, she wakes up at a hospital. Her husband is soon with her, helping Dana communicate through typing. She has suffered quite a setback. Not only is talking impossible for her, but even typing is very difficult. Once she's alone at night, she hears someone walking in the room. It makes her type on her laptop, asking if anyone is there. Her voice system asks the question with clarity and volume. Although nobody answers her, we see someone who looks like a zombie standing in a nearby corner. In the morning, Dana types that she feels trapped within herself. Her body is a prison. Then a nurse comes to her aid, whose name is Trevor. She attempts to speak to him using her mouth, yet is currently unable to. She starts typing instead, telling him that someone was in her room last night, watching her. She looks at the door ahead, causing Trevor to look also. He goes to open it, which reveals nothing except supplies. The next scene has Dana's daughter, Gemma, driving with her father, Steve, to the hospital. When they arrive, Gemma does her mom's nails, while Trevor talks to Steve about what Dana told him about. Since Steve wants to talk to Dana alone, Gemma gets up to leave. As she walks away, she closes the supply room door because it was partially open, but it instantly opens back to that position. Dana tells Steve about what she experienced last night. He tells her it could be the ventilator, because it sounds like someone breathing. Her only response is that she doesn't like this place. After that, we see Gemma walking along the corridor. She enters a room where she thinks she hears something. The room is empty, though we see a hand behind a curtain. What is Gemma walking around for anyway? Coming near a bed, she starts putting on an oxygen mask. This seems to trigger an alarm that scares the girl into knocking down a nearby platter. As she reaches under the bed to pick up some of the dropped supplies, we see gray legs standing near her. They vanish once she turns back. Then someone comes in, startling her. It is the director of the hospital, Elizabeth Leeming, who soon takes Gemma back to her mom. There, Gemma and Steve say goodbye to her for the day. At night, Dana hallucinates getting a pillow placed over her by a monstrous man. After learning it isn't real, she sees a man is there, sitting with her. He is interested in learning about her feeling of being watched. The man gives off a mysterious vibe. He tells her she was lifeless for a few minutes, before getting revived by paramedics. He also asks if she has any memory of her accident. Dana replies that she heard voices. Lifeless people placed their nails inside her to pull her down. To this, the man, who is Dr. Ron Stengel, assures her she is safe at the hospital. Later, Dana lies alone, typing about how she misses Gemma. As she rests, the door ahead opens on its own. Someone comes out to misuse her tube. We briefly see that it is a grotesque man. Since her machine got tampered with, an alarm sounds that causes personnel to arrive to Dana's aid. On the next day, Dana tells Steve about what happened. She describes the person who did it as having an awful face with long hands. Shortly after, a camera gets installed in the room. It is connected to her laptop, so she can watch it whenever she wants. Using it, she becomes very upset upon seeing her face injury for the first time. Steve has to zoom the camera out to prevent his wife from feeling bad. Soon, they see Elizabeth outside with the camera. Steve comes out to talk to her. He says that Dana will feel better when they learn who shut off her ventilator. Elizabeth assures him that the machine failed, before apologizing for it. Steve demands that she takes care of Dana, or he will sue her along with the hospital. The next scene has the director talking to Trevor about the incident. She is angry that it turned out that way. He tells her they have some issues there, even showing her a hole in the wall. There are huge rats beyond it, he says. Afterward, Dana tries moving her legs, yet she cannot. Out of boredom, she starts playing a game with the camera using her voice software. She makes it move once for a positive answer, and twice for a negative one. Then a knock startles her. She uses her voice to ask who it is. After not getting an answer, Dana uses her voice software. That is when another knock on the wall takes place. She asks if this knock is coming from a patient, which gives her another knock. Her next question is if this person can talk. That gives her 2 knocks, supposedly. This individual overheard the game she was playing with her camera. They learn to respond, with 1 knock meaning yes, while 2 mean no. So from all this, we learn that the person knocking is a patient who is unable to talk. Next, Dana asks if this patient has also seen the same person she did. Now there is silence. This prompts Dana to ask if the person is still there, but she gets nothing again. Later, she searches for her hospital on the internet. Looking at the pictures of the staff, she finds a tall man that she looks at with unease. After searching particularly for him, she discovers the man. His name was Eric Nilsson. In the morning, Trevor comes to her. She asks him about Eric, yet he tells her he doesn't know anything. So she asks him about the next important thing, the patient on the other side of the wall. Trevor says it's a lady named Ellie, who had a stroke. As he performs his duty on her, Dana uses the camera to see an injury that shouldn't be there. It scares her, to the point of her losing control. Trevor is forced to restrain her and put her to sleep. Following this, he goes to shut the supply room door. However, it opens once again. He peeks inside to see if anything caused it before shutting it again. This time, he places a wheelchair against it to keep it shut. Subsequently, we see the doctor is there with Dana again. He tells her that Eric has been gone for nearly 30 years. The first time he saw Eric was in 1972. He was brought in as a patient. Ron doesn't know much about his past, though he knows he was a victim of abuse. They also had to keep his fingernails short every day to prevent him from. Over the years, Eric became better. As an adult, he asked to work at the hospital. Ron says that he seemed to be cured, except for one odd obsession of his. He clipped the nails of children and saved them inside envelope. Due to that, he got the nickname Nails. Dana becomes curious to learn what happened to him. The doctor tells her that shortly after Eric began working there, they got an unusual number of child losses. 5 girls lost their lives. The police looked into it, but could prove nothing. However, Ron says the nail clippings of the girls were found. According to him, Eric was devoted to those girls. He believes that Eric thought he was saving them by not letting them go through the same abuse as he did. That way, the girls would stay innocent forever. Afterward, At that point, Dana looks at the door ahead of her. It prompts her to ask where Eric. Yet Ron does not want to answer her. All he says is that Eric is not coming back. His answer brings great discomfort to her. Then Dana talks to Gemma on video. She sees another girl there with her, Ashley, who is from her husband's track team. We see that her presence at Dana's house brings unease to her. Perhaps Dana suspects that Steve could cheat on her with Ashley. Later, Dana starts talking to Ellie, but the lady does not respond. A knock soon comes from the door. This certainly isn't Ellie. Even though there is a wheelchair there, the door opens. The grotesque being, Nails, starts walking out. This causes Dana's alarm to start going off. Once Trevor comes to her, we see Nails touching the helpless lady. He vanishes after Trevor turns on the lights. While the man tends to her, we see how traumatized Dana is. At this point, we learn there was a person at this hospital who truly did exist with a troubled past. Since Dana experiences seeing him there, it cannot be a hallucination of hers. She is dealing with the grotesque remnants of a troubled man's improper demise. On the next day, she shows Steve the door opening on her camera. However, it doesn't show Nails coming out. Steve doesn't know what to make of Dana's paranoia. After him, she shows it to Gemma. She also wants her to talk to Ellie about it. So Gemma goes next door to start talking to the patient there. In a short time, the patient sits up to frighten the young girl, making her run away. Trevor then drills the door shut in Dana's room. Dana thinks that it still won't help because behind that door isn't a person. She also tells Trevor she knows he saw Nails, but he denies having seen anything. What she wants is for him to help her go home. Yet Trevor is not in a position to do that. The next scene has Dana searching the internet for why she can perceive ghosts. Soon enough, she finds a man who talks about acquiring the ability to see a ghost after his accident. Just like Dana, he was lifeless for a few minutes. A gray woman is who he sees, much like Dana's gray man. When the interviewer asks him if she is there with them, we see that she is. It is quite likely that no one else saw her, except for Dana. After that, she resets her machine. She has a hard time breathing at first, though soon she is okay. It is not yet clear why she did that. Later, Trevor comes into Elizabeth's office. He reports having seen something the time Dana was in trouble. Instead of seeing it, he changes his wording to him having felt it. The man doesn't know how to describe it. Once he brings up Eric to her, the director doesn't like where he takes the topic. Trevor believes Dana is in trouble, but Elizabeth ends the discussion. We come to wonder why she feels so uncomfortable with it. It's very likely she knows some unpleasant truth that she prefers would stay hidden. As Dana types, her computer starts distorting to tell her she will lose her life in the hospital. She tries to do something about it, yet this is a supernatural force invading her machine. There is nothing she can do. It begins to show her Steve with Ashley. As Dana may have suspected, he does cheat on her. At that upsetting moment, Dana removes her blanket to witness her legs invisibly acquiring gashes. They are the kind a strong set of fingernails would make. This makes Dana ask the apparition what it wants from her. Suddenly, she lifts her shirt because her answer comes to her on her stomach. In the form of cuts, the words, "I miss you," are written there. Perhaps due to pain and shock, she loses consciousness. In his room, Trevor notices the cabinet move, so he takes his bat to strike it. He then opens it to find only files inside. Taking Eric's file, he looks at the pictures of the young girls whose lives Eric took. From that file, he takes out an interesting paper. It has Dana's name on it, along with a picture of her in her youth. What Nails wrote on Dana's stomach now makes sense. She was one of the girls that was with him in the past. However, it seems like she survived. After that, Trevor sees some strange activity on his laptop. A video shows him what is happening behind him as he sits to watch it. The cabinet moves to reveal the hole, but when he turns around, this activity is not taking place. It only unravels on the laptop. Shortly after, a hand starts coming out, followed by the gray man. Turning back reveals nothing once more. Only when Nails stands near him can Trevor perceive him in reality. Seeing him also means getting claimed by him. The next day has Steve complaining to Elizabeth about Dana's injured legs. Gemma is also there, along with Ashley. Steve believes it is Trevor who did this to his wife. Who else could it be in that hospital? Dana protects Trevor, saying it wasn't him. At that point, Steve gives her the file that was found in Trevor's room. He tells her she was at this hospital 30 years ago. She was a child with meningitis. She happened to be there when Eric ended those 5 girls. After looking at the paperwork in disbelief, Dana tells him it was Nails who hurt her. Since Steve doesn't believe her, she insults him and says she regrets marrying him. Following that, we see Elizabeth talking to the police on the phone about Dana's situation. Soon the person on the phone starts mocking her, before telling her to turn around. Once she does, Nails is there to claim her. His supernatural ability to affect technology in the way he does makes him extra frightening to deal with. Back in Dana's room, Dana insults Ashley for being a harlot, which makes her leave. Afterward, she blows up on her husband for cheating on her with Ashley. As the situation becomes increasingly more negative, the lights in the building go out. Steve leaves the room because he's been waiting for the police for too long. That is when Dana tells her daughter to run away. However, Gemma cares for her mother and will not take part in such an immoral act. Since she stays, Dana wants her to disconnect the tube from her neck. After hesitating, the girl does it. Eventually, Gemma gets her mother into a wheelchair before they both start traversing through the dark hospital. In the meantime, Steve looks for Ashley in the parking garage. Upon entering his car, she sits in the passenger seat, turning to him with a white face. Unfortunately for him, his life ends, still on a bad note with his wife. As Gemma continues to make headway with her mother, Nails menacingly walks the hallway, scratching the wall in the process. Due to the elevator not working, Gemma resorts to wheeling her mom downstairs. Of course, it doesn't work, making the wounded lady fall to hurt herself even more. Thankfully, though, there is another wheelchair on the lower level that Gemma mounts her mom in. Once they get to a set of doors, Ron is there to meet them. He starts taking Dana, which forces Gemma to bite him. At that moment, he loses his calm to say that she is as crazy as her mother. The last part of him that he presented to someone was his angry side, because Nails comes to end his life. He chillingly walks toward the duo, while Gemma struggles to pull her mom back, the young girl still trying to save her mother, even though she witnesses such a horrifying figure come at them, proving she is a loving daughter. Many others would have probably run out of fear. When Gemma opens a door, Dana pushes her outside of it to lock her out, while Dana stays with Nails. She also proves to be a loving mother by doing that. After Dana tells Gemma that she will always love her, Gemma cries, not wanting her mom to do this. But Dana goes to confront Nails. The monster picks her up with one hand, before slamming her against the wall to claim another life to his name. During the daytime, Gemma sits, traumatized, in an ambulance. She tells the paramedic that her mom lost her life to Nails. The last scene shows us Dana lying in bed, while Nails is nearby her in his human form. Shortly after, he shows us his monstrous side again. It seems like no one even stood a chance against him, and after 30 years, he got to collect Dana.